Artificial intelligence is becoming part of our everyday lives, at work, in the classroom, and just about everywhere in between. But as AI continues to grow, are we making sure everyone can actually use it? A new survey from the University of Phoenix found nearly half of workers say accessibility is missing from or unclear in their workplace AI policies. Joining us today to tell us a little bit more is Kelly Herman. She is the Vice President of Accessibility and Student Affairs at the University of Phoenix. Welcome to the show. Thanks for stopping by today.
Well, thank you for having me.
You know, we see AI everywhere, whether you're scrolling on social media, utilizing it in the workplace, but what are you most concerned from your survey's findings?
Sure. So, what stood out most is the gap between AI adoption and accessibility readiness. So, 45% of our survey respondents say accessibility is absent from, unclear in, or they're uncertain whether it's covered by their workplace AI policies. And as you mentioned, AI is already becoming part of everyday work and learning, but many workers either don't see accessibility addressed clearly in workplace AI policies, or they don't know whether it's addressed at all. And so the concern isn't so much that workers are rejecting AI. In fact, many see real benefits. The concern is whether the tools, policies, and training are keeping pace so that people with disabilities and different access needs are not left behind.
You know, that brings up a really good point. A lot of people have to kind of write those new policies. So how can AI improve accessibility in education and in the workplace?
Sure. So it can be a very powerful accessibility tool when it's used intentionally. In our survey, respondents identified likely benefits for creating accessible documents, presentations, websites, or learning materials that allowed them to present information in different formats, such as plain language, audio, summaries, or translations, and also training employees or learners on accessibility practices. And those are not small conveniences. They can affect whether someone can fully participate in a class, a training, a meeting, or actually complete a workplace task. And in education and at work, that matters because not everyone is going to learn, communicate, or process information the same way.
Let's take that just a little bit further. Why is accessibility really essential to responsible AI adoption?
Well, I think responsible AI use is not just about the speed or the productivity. It's about whether the technology works for people who need to use it. And so our survey found that workers want responsible AI to include training, to include clear rules, human review for important decisions or high impact work, and privacy and data security protections. But one of the more interesting things that we found as well is that 60% of AI users have seen their knowledge of and ability to use accessibility standards and guidelines improve as a result of using AI, including 74% of AI enthusiasts. And so the reality for us is that accessibility benefits everyone. Clearer content, better summaries, accurate captions, and multiple formats can help workers and learners with disabilities, but they also help busy adults, multilingual learners, mobile users, and anyone trying to absorb information quickly. And so if accessibility is built in from the beginning, in the tool selection, policy, training, and any review, organizations are more likely to create AI environments that are universally usable.
Yeah, of course. We use it a lot for productivity. We want to get things done a lot quicker. And we talked about the benefits of having accessibility in mind, but what if we launch something and it's deployed without accessibility in mind?
So I think the biggest risk there is that it can create new barriers instead of removing them. And so when we don't include the accessibility at the forefront and we don't build that into our inputs, a tool may produce inaccessible content, it may miss context, it could introduce bias, or it could make important information harder to use for people who rely on assistive technologies such as screen readers. That's why that human oversight is essential. And in the survey, 36% of the respondents say human review was important for important decisions or high impact work should be part of responsible AI use at work or at school. And so when we look at what AI can do, it can generate captions, summaries, transcripts, image descriptions, but those outputs still need to be reviewed for accuracy and accessibility. And so when we're, thinking about it, the goal shouldn't just be speed and automation alone. It should be that responsible and accurate use.
Yeah, that is so interesting that, we still have to have that human impact when it comes to AI. So speaking to that,
Yeah.
what can employers and educators do right now to create more inclusive AI environments?
So I think the most important thing and the biggest piece of advice that I can give is to make accessibility part of the process from the very beginning. Don't wait until something, a problem appears to add in. So first, take a look at your policies and make accessibility part of your AI policy. And then as you're looking at the tools that you're going to be using, test them and keep in mind people who have different access needs as you're making those selections. And then third, train people on accessible AI use, both on the prompts and on the inputs, as well as the accuracy of those outputs, and make sure that workers and learners know where to go for help. Organizations don't need to wait for perfect answers. They can begin by communicating expectations clearly, offering hands-on training, testing tools with users who have different access needs, and then also, as we mentioned, keeping human judgment in the loop.
Kelly, this was fascinating. If someone wants to look more into this study and how they can apply those practices into their own business and everyday life, how can they learn more?
They can visit our website at phoenix.edu/AI accessibility.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much for stopping by Great Day Live.
Thank you.